Well, Craig, what's the Cyclones this morning?
I thought it was really important to come down this morning. He ended up, I ended up spending a lot of time with him. My last impression of him when the saddle slipped gives me no guide at all, just that he really takes a really keen hold. And this morning he was no different. He was quite aggressive in his first lap, and in his canter I was able to get a better understanding of him, and especially in his work. So I think this morning was very important in regards to getting to understand side glance going into Saturday's Cox Plate.
So it could be a wet track. How do you think he'll handle it?
Well, they've had a lot of rain here this morning. You can see a lot of water around, but he rode it on that. He went on that ground really well this morning. So again, under race pressure, it's always a lot different. I'll have to go through and have a look at his wet form. I didn't really dive into that too much. It's usually this time of year we're usually getting firmer tracks. I think today is going to be the first time in 20 years, or the second time in 20 years that the Geelong Cup's been run on soft ground. So it's quite an unusual time, but we all know Moonee Valley, that it does handle the water really well. So it'll be interesting to see what the weather forecast leading into it.
This will stack up against the Australians?
Well, I think that's the big question that we will find out on Saturday. In his work, I can't assess him in his work in regards to his ability. He's not a flash track worker. He's not quite straightforward. But all I can report is that I think the barrier draw for him, barrier 1, for the Cox Plate is very important for him, and even for me to come down this morning and have my second ride on him gives me a better feel of the horse going in and understanding of side glance going into the Cox Plate.
He has been a hard horse to get a handle of watching him do his track work. Have you got an indication from them inside that he responded better to you this morning?
They said to me this morning that they could see the difference of getting to understand the horse. Leanne, who works with the horse every morning, does a fantastic job with him. He's very difficult, and she saw the difference in getting to understand the horse. I thought it was very important this morning to have a ride on him to really understand his mannerisms.
Craig, when the news came through yesterday about Atlantic Jewel, did you feel like it just opened up a bit for everyone?
I think it's still a very, very, very competitive race anyway, but of course Atlantic Jewel was obviously the one to beat. Now there's still another 3 and 4 in the mix, because every year it's a fantastic weight for age race, 2,000 metres at the Valley, and this year is going to be a fantastic race yet again.
So you're a keen form student on the paper and going through his races. Does it give you any confidence that he'll be able to run a good race?
He'll run a good race, that's for sure. Whether or not European horses with his form can win a Cox Plate, we'll all find out on Saturday. There hasn't been many horses from Europe that have come and competed in the Cox Plate, so it's quite hard to get a handle on their form. But for his form reference, he's ran in 13 group races, 8 of them in a Group 1, so he's obviously that type of level of horse. But again, we haven't had many European horses come here. We know where they sit in regards to Caulfield Cup and Melbourne Cup, our handicap staying races, but a Cox Plate is quite a unique race on an Australian calendar, and I guess from now on, anyone from Europe that wants to target the race will get a better understanding after the 2 European horses compete on Saturday.
You wouldn't bring in a European horse halfway around the world just if it was no good. So.
Well, that's right. You know, they're great judges of their horses. This horse has proven he isn't a typical international horse. He's raced in many countries. His last start was in America. He was unlucky in the Arlington Millions. So, as you can see this morning and how I felt this morning, that he travels no problem at all. So he's a perfect horse to travel internationally. But that's right, we'll get a good handle on him.
Will yourself bleeding in the race?
I'd hope not. But on paper, there's not much pressure. But again, there is pressure to get a position going into the first turn. Then you seem to run downhill for the next part of it. So what horses then come back, and those horses get forced, 3-year-olds with no weight. So I think from the options that my connections had in regards to choosing the barrier when Side Glance was pulled out, I think it's a perfect draw for him going into Saturday.
Why is that?
Because I would prefer him to be landing wherever he's comfortable. He either gets cover where he lands, or you can push him, but if he drew a wider gate, I'd probably had my hands tied to how my horse responded to his mannerisms, whether he'd be too keen or... So I'm delighted to draw barrier 1.
With the weather forecast and that being in the night out race of the 2-day carnival, barrier 1 is the chance of that track being chopped out. Is that a bit of a concern for you?
Yeah, that could be. Come the day, and weather permitting, that all could be the case, and so all of a sudden 1 could be as bad as 20 in the race. So again, we can't control the weather. We just have to assess it when it comes in, and by that time of the day, we'll have a good handle on the track condition.